Well, welcome back to Anxiety Simplified podcast. This is going to be part two with Pattie Grimm, how to empower women leaders to create resiliency and emotional agility, and how to really embrace change and thrive and bounce back. I'm calling it better in this new world economy. And so Pattie really told her story of her from rock bottom to from rock star to rock bottom and back up in our part one. So you can go back and listen to that. But now we're going to go back into it. And it was an inspiring 5 steps that you really do want to go back and listen to in part one and hear more about how to create your vision for forward and then how to move forward in that vision towards your career and life goals. And in part two, we want to really inspire more women to channel their inner grit and resiliency to bounce back in this from this global pandemic, because this is not easy as anybody looks at this now, and we're seeing way too many women leaving corporate America or even the workplace, and we need you. So we really want to look at some ways to empower you, to create some unique opportunities that really are out there in the labor market right now, but we need you. So I want to welcome back Pattie, and I'm going to put up her book again about quiet women never changed history. It is a great book. It's like a guide to really focus and to get clarity on what you do need to move forward. So welcome back, Pattie. So tell us, or say anything you'd like to say to start off our conversation today and kind of where we're going to go.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It's so great and such an honor to be asked back. I mean, I'm just like, oh, this is so incredible and so much fun. I feel like I'm just talking to a girlfriend, even though we live in two different parts of the country. I'm in Texas and you're in the East Coast someplace, right?
Yeah, Florida. Yep.
Florida. That's right. Florida. Now I remember. 2020 is probably the most challenging year in recent history. And maybe the only thing that might have been similar to it would have been the Depression and Spanish flu, which surprisingly happened the same time, just like the pandemic did. But I call this sort of 2020 was the year of pandemic, protest, and panic or pain. You can use either one of those words, right? This has been an extremely tough year. People have lost their jobs. They've lost family members. Companies have gone out of business. We've had toilet paper shortages that I never understood. I never understood the toilet paper shortage at all. Because I'm like, it's not a pooping flu. It's a bronchial flu. So anyway, I digress. But it has been this really, really challenging year. And yet we have really learned so much, and a lot of positive things have come out of it. I think it has allowed people to focus on what's really important and let go of the things that aren't. I think it's allowed us to maybe examine where we are in our lives and careers. It's helped us build our resiliency, our emotional agility, and grit. And when I look at the stats and you see 1 in 4 women, as we talked about in the last one in 4 women is considering leaving the workforce or downsizing their career due to COVID crisis and things that are happening in their lives right now. And like you said, women, we need you. We need more women in the workplace, because when we have women in the workplace, especially at senior levels, profitability for the company goes up, employee engagement goes up, customer satisfaction goes up, profits, market share, everything goes up when you've got an inclusive workforce that includes women and people of color, because we all bring different perspectives. And we have to build a resiliency message. I wrote an article for LinkedIn that was saying resiliency, will we bend or will we break? Yeah. Right? If you look at a strong tree, like an oak tree, in a strong wind, like the winds of change we're experiencing right now, there's a high likelihood that tree is going to break or parts of it are going to fall off. If you look at a willow tree or even bamboo, which is incredibly strong, when we lived in Seattle, we planted this black bamboo in the back of our house to block the neighbor who had a 2-story house and could look into our backyard. We planted this beautiful black bamboo. And it is so wonderful because instead of having an ugly fence and wall, we had something that had movement. It would blow in the wind. It would grow 6 inches a day in summer. You could literally watch bamboo grow, not like watching your grass grow. But it's incredibly strong and it bends in the wind. So resiliency is about the ability to navigate through life's twists and turns and be able to have the resiliency and acceptance of what's going on so that we can learn from it with an open mind, right? I think everybody, including myself, when COVID hit, we all went into immediate panic mode and react mode. Yeah. We started reacting to things. And I have this weird habit of wanting to look up what words mean. So at one point in time, it was popular to call employees subordinates. And that word always bothered me because the word sub means below. Yeah. And ordinate is a derivative of ordinary. So when you call your employees subordinate, call them below ordinary.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, that's not good. So when I look at the word react, right, we all talk about being proactive versus being reactive. When we react, it's like a chemistry experiment where you enter something into it and it has some sort of usually explosion or something. So when we react and panic in this time of change and don't embrace it and have the resiliency, in essence, our brain goes from our thinking part of our brain, exits our body, and it all goes to the back part of the brain, which is that fight, flight, flee mode. And we get into that mode where we react. And when we react, sometimes we say things without thinking. So you've engaged your mouth without your head. Yeah. And how often does that turn out right?
Or I kind of call it protect mode. You know, it is.
Yeah, you get into that protect mode.
Yeah.
You're like an animal caged in and in a corner retreating and you attack. Yeah. But if you have resiliency, emotional agility, and grit, you have the ability to stay calm in a way. I love the work by Dr. Susan David. She has a Sue Talk. It's Dr. Susan David, David. She's out of South Africa. You need to look up her Sue Talk and get her book, Emotional Agility, Embrace Change and Thrive. It's amazing. I follow her on LinkedIn. She does all this great stuff. But she talks about the combination of being resilient, the ability to navigate through life's turns and twists and learn from it, with the combination of them, emotional agility of having the ability to bounce back, or you said bounce forward. I really like that. I like bounce forward much better. And the ability to look at things with eyes wide open, right? Look at the good, look at the bad, and look at the ugly.
And you know, something else, I did follow her as well. And you know, the other thing was about, it's okay to sit with it even if it feels uncomfortable. It's okay.
Yeah. It's okay. So there's another thing you should find. There's a Brene Brown podcast. There's a 2-part one with Dr. Susan David. These are 2 of the most brilliant minds in the world right now on being authentic, being authentic leader, which is what women do well. We need to do that more, but also the combination of not rushing to positivity too quickly. That when things go bad, give yourself an opportunity to grieve, to cry, to yell, to get frustrated, but don't live there. You know, don't throw the pity party, but don't rush to positivity too quickly, because then you don't learn from it. And when that situation comes up again, you're likely to repeat the same negative behavior that's going to put you like on a treadmill, you know, on a hamster wheel. Yeah. You just keep repeating the same mistake over and over again. So if you have the emotional agility to look at things with an open mind and say, you know, instead of saying I'm depressed, saying I'm feeling depressed today. I wonder what's going on, and ask yourself some questions. What happened? Why did it happen? What did I learn from it? What could I do differently next time to create a different result? When something goes well, do the same thing with the same questions. What did I learn I want to do over again?
And you know why another reason why this is so important, Pattie, is because our brain is wired to master things. We have to do things over and over again to get better. And so that's why sometimes it feels like the hamster wheel, because we're not asking those kind of really good questions. What can I do next? What can I look at? How is it that I can change this to feel better, or look at it differently? With those good questions, that will help you master it, like you said, so you don't have to go continually relive it to
Yeah.
master it.
And then you have the grit or the perseverance to overcome any obstacle.
That's so
So if you
important.
ask yourself, if something goes well, what did I do that I want to do again? That's considered growth. And one of the things that Susan David says in one of her, I think it's in her Sue Talk, if you want your life to be flat with no ups, no downs, this life living, whether it's a life of unicorns or a life of donkeys, right? Whether you're an optimist or a pessimist, if you want to live at that space, you have dead people's goals. Because when you flatline in life, right? Me on a EKG, you're a dead person. And so you need to have that beauty, that frustration, that love, that passion, that sorrow, so you can learn from it and you become a stronger, better person that has the grit to persevere next time. Trust me, COVID is not, yes, it's over in some places, or it's getting over, and we're getting sort of almost back to regular work in a new world. People talk about getting back to the new normal. There is no new normal. There is no normal assumes we're going to go back to the way things were in 2019. We ain't going there, right? Most companies that are trying to get their employees come back to work full time are having a real hard time because people want to stay home at least part time.
Yeah.
So we can't go back to a new normal, but we can adapt to working and embrace a new world and have fun with it. Laugh more. Something goes wrong. Somebody points out, I'm doing a big keynote presentation and I've got a typo in one of my slides, and somebody points it out and I laugh and say, hey, Einstein said creative people know how to spell words more than one way, and I believe Einstein. So you
that's a good one.
You laugh, you have a good, you take it easy, but those, like you said, those questions are so powerful of asking yourself, how am I going to get better?
And you know something, I would love to add to this, because I think the opposite sometimes happens, that we get stuck in drama and we stay focused on, whatever's happening in the news or whatever is happening someplace.
Turn off the TV, turn off the news.
Or even in your friend's life, that then you stay there and, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Instead of going back to what we talked about in part 1 about your vision, and let it guide you to get back to focusing on what is going to be and help me in my next 5 years to get me to the goal. Because staying in the drama of wherever you want to find it, because it is all over social media, it is anywhere you want to find it, and don't let it take you off your focus or off your track. You need to stay focused. And these things that you're talking about absolutely will help you stay focused.
I posted an article on LinkedIn this morning that I saw. There's something about 5 simple things somebody did to change your life. And one of them was be selfish with your time and make sure you take breaks during the day when you're in all these crazy Zoom meetings. Schedule them for 25 minutes, not 30, 55, not 60. Take time to walk outside, to appreciate something, hug your dog, your cat, your kids, your significant other, or go kick a can if you're in, go kick a can, not a person or a dog or a cat, but go kick something if you need to. But to be able to have that opportunity to give yourself some space. And I think one of the recommendations was stop one social media thing that you're doing, right? Stop LinkedIn, Clubhouse now, LinkedIn, Clubhouse, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, blah, 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 blah.
Cancel one.
Stop. Cancel one. Cancel one. I started at the moment I canceled Instagram because I haven't figured out how to work it. And I worked at Microsoft for 15 years. So
yeah, it's not a lot of them. The other thing I want to kind of pick your brain about is you've been in corporate America, and you've got to understand what it does for women to be out of an economy or out of work for any amount of time, and going back in maybe to a different job even, and now having to present your value, your skills again. And one of the things that I see as important is up front being able to present yourself well, show your value, like you talked as one of the 5. But how to do that in this economy, or once you've been out where you may feel you're rusty again, or I am feeling a little bit more insecure because all I've done is Zoom and I haven't seen people fit. I'm just wondering, what would you say to women going back into the workforce now as some things that they could do to make it a better entry or
Yeah.
re-entry into the
Yeah.
job
Yeah.
world?
So a couple of recommendations. I also have one for companies called a return ship.
Oh,
Because we're losing 25% of our women out of the workforce right now, many of them are probably going to come back, or if you've had to leave and you're going to come back, or you were laid off, more women were laid off during COVID than men. It's just as a fact. We've got all kinds of interesting facts on women in the workplace. But in essence, a returnship would be where a company would bring a woman or even a man that had been out of, had left the workplace to care for an elderly parent for a year or two.
mhm.
Some kind of a re-entry program, a returnship where you can come back in for 30, 60, 90 days. You get back into the workforce, but you don't have heavy responsibilities, goals, sales targets, and you're allowed to have time to kind of reorient to the company, get to know things like that. For women, what I think you can do is I think you can prepare yourself ahead of time. So start taking an hour a day and watch a YouTube video on something on social media marketing or social selling, they're now calling it. Instead of being able to sell to people face to face, you've got to do it through technologies that call it social selling. Take some free workshops you can do on LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, a number of those things, community college. Get yourself prepared for reentry, right? And then recognize your accomplishments. Go back and look. I'm coaching a young woman right now that's been trying to get promoted. She's not getting promoted at a company, so she's considering leaving. And it was all about her and how it was such an unfair life in many places, and she just wasn't getting promoted because the company wouldn't support her. And I was like, well, let's stop and take a look at your accomplishments and what you've done. And she says, well, they're looking for people with management experience. I said, well, you've been a team leader for 4 years. So write out team leader of this 12 person team. Document your accomplishments and try and use facts, not feelings. Like I managed, I led a team of 12 people. Here's what we accomplished. Here's our numbers. Here's the thing we do. And then go in with the confidence, right? Go in with the idea of, I can do this, right? My father always told me, you can do anything you put your mind to, as long as you're determined to get it done. And walk in with that confidence. We talked about this, about the body language is so important. It's the
Yes.
power poses. I literally, before I do a presentation, I go into the bathroom before a presentation or some space people can't see me. Sometimes I'm hiding behind the screen and I'm doing my power pose with your head up, your head over your shoulders, your ears over your shoulders, looking forward, your eyes looking forward, your eyes in the camera if it's a Zoom meeting, standing tall with my hands on my hips saying, you're a brave, bold, and brilliant, and you got this, girl.
Like Wonder Woman did.
Yeah, like Wonder Woman,
She
right?
did
And then you
that
just boom,
pose.
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
You got your
Yes.
rope.
Lasso.
We just
Yeah.
watched the new Wonder
That's,
Woman, but
oh, you
have
did.
that. And so one of the things, sometimes people hear the title of my book, Quiet Women Never Change History. They think, well, what about the fact I'm an introvert? Being a strong woman is not about being an extrovert. I think you know this, but people make the mistake of thinking extroversion and introversion is a personality trait. And it can be a little bit, but more importantly, extroverts get their energy from the outside world, from talking, from brainstorming, from being in meetings, from just thinking out loud. Introverts get their energy from inside, from reflecting, from having time to think.
Quiet.
If you're going to go to a big meeting, say you're going back into work, you're going to your first big meeting, either in person or on Zoom, ask for the agenda ahead of time. If you're an introvert, especially, watch the YouTube video called The Power of Introversion. You will love it. You will love it.
Good. Good.
But take some time to prepare and look at the agenda and maybe do some research so you can ask a question and be visible and vocal. Think about if you're confident in something that you love, like gardening, and somebody asks you about gardening, you could talk for hours. So get business smart, right? Learn the business before you go to work for that company. Go to their website, look at what they're doing, look at their strategy, download, if they're a public company, download their annual report and read the letter to shareholders and parts of the report, because that will tell you what the company is doing. And then you're walking in more educated. And be careful not to come across as cocky versus confident or bossy versus bold. I do a webinar on confident, not cocky, bold, not bossy, how to be an assertive woman leader. So balance that strength and confidence with empathy. Beware of saying things like, well, when I worked at so-and-so, we did it this way.
Ooh.
Because people immediately get defensive and think, well, you're a no.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I tell managers or people when you're coaching someone that never ask the question, why did you? Even of your children, because that immediately makes people defensive.
Yeah.
And in their mind, it puts them back to when they were in 6th grade outside the principal's office. And the first thing he or she said is, why did you?
Yeah.
Finger pointing, right? So
Yeah.
why did you is not a good question. You can ask, say, tell me about what happened, or give me your side of the story, or, can you help me understand what happened in this situation? But never say, why did you? And don't do this, the finger pointing.
There's one for parents.
When you point, you're pointing one finger at them and 3 fingers back at you.
Yeah. So you got to think about what those effects are. And I think some of the things too, I feel like with women, I think in a lot of ways we may feel we're in competition with men in some way in these jobs or in the way we're coming back. And we are in a sense, but like we talked about in part 1, using your strengths will be totally not the same as a man coming in. So maybe you could just speak to that.
Yeah.
Briefly.
What's so interesting is one of the questions I asked when I was interviewing 3,200 people for my book about what makes a great woman leader, or what makes a great leader. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between a great man and a woman leader? And the interesting thing is the top characteristics of what makes a great woman, makes a great leader overall were the same. They were just in a different order. Men came out strong on strategic thinking, quick decision-making, some of those kinds of things. Women came out stronger on collaboration, developer of people, great team players, collaborators. And so when I asked the question, is there a difference between a great man and woman leader? The most powerful comment came from my friend, Colonel Deb Lewis, who was one of the first women to attend West Point and graduate, and they just had their 50th anniversary. Now, she didn't have a glass ceiling. She had a concrete bunker. There were no restrooms for the women the first month they were at West Point. There was the uniforms didn't fit. The drill sergeants would intentionally give instructions to both men and women, but then they called the men on the side and tell them something special that they wouldn't tell the women. So they really had to fight their way out of a concrete bunker. She went on to have a 30-year career in the military and command troops all over the world. She just retired and moved to Hawaii with her husband, who was still in the military, or also was in the military, Colonel Deb Lewis. What she said to me that was so insightful about the difference between men and women leaders is she says, women see around the corner. Now, you can call this intuition or an antenna we have in our brain. And there's a funny video, YouTube video about the difference between men and women's brains. If you want to find it, it's hysterically funny about how our brains are different. Yeah. But what she meant was, when I asked her, she said, well, a man comes into a meeting, Zoom or in person, he has his agenda, and he's got this meeting goes from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and this is our agenda, and we're going to go through these topics, and we're going to make a decision, right? At the end of the meeting, he's patting himself on the back, great meeting. Well, we got great decisions, great moving forward. He walks out of the room, and half the people were completely disengaged. A third of the people didn't agree with him, and a third are going to go do whatever they want anyway, because there's no agreement. The hall talk starts. Well, that was a really dumb decision, but he didn't see that people were disengaged. The woman leader will notice and will say, Joanne, it looks like you have a thought on your mind, or I don't feel like we're in full agreement here. Can I get an indication of where you are on this decision? Now, women sometimes are criticized for not making fast enough decisions. But the fact is, women make thoughtful, collaborative decisions, so implementation is easier. The man in that meeting makes a quick decision, but nobody's bought in, and implementation so they make a quick decision, say it's this long to the decision, but the implementation is this long because nobody bought in. The woman's discussion might be this long with collaboration, get people's buy-in, and her implementation is this long. So they get the same result, but she gets there better because she has buy-in from the people that are going to actually have to live with that decision. Part of that is about having the resiliency and the emotional agility to recognize those things and see those things and use that antenna or that intuition to say, something doesn't feel right here.
Yeah. I feel like it's women's superpower. And I
I
just
do
don't
too.
think we appreciate it enough, or maybe see it that we even have it. And I think it's from having to keep our children alive, to be able to keep them alive. We had to, notice here when it got quiet, it was like, uh-oh, with
Yeah,
kids in the house. So you had to use different senses
yeah.
having
And it
children.
makes us, the Jacinda kind of leaders that are strong, confident, compassionate, caring, and know that the empathy is the thing that really makes the difference.
It
You know, and
does.
and not being afraid to express ourselves or even sometimes cry. Right. I mean, somebody one time I was listening to something the other day and she says, well, I'm happy, but my eyes are saying something different. Right. And I
That's
think
cute.
well, the one other thing I think women need to watch out for that I think can prevent our resiliency and agility is grit is the thrive the need to be perfect, the
Mm,
perfectionism. I think it's the number one thing holding women back from breaking the glass ceiling because we don't go for that great job, right? We have 9 of the 10 characteristics a company's looking for, and we don't think we're ready.
right.
So imposter syndrome is a sense or feeling that usually women have more than men, that I'm not ready yet. I'm not capable, despite the fact you have the skills and the competency.
Yeah,
And that perfectionism starts when we're little girls and we're told to
it
be the good
does.
girl, go to the good school, get the good grades, have the good friends, be happy all the time.
Yeah.
And we deny that emotional agility of living life to its fullest and learning from the good and the bad and the ugly and not rushing to positivity too quickly. Using those questions, what happened? What did I learn from it? What could I do differently? Or what could I do again? That's going to build that resiliency muscle because the next thing is going to happen,
Yeah.
right? 2021 was promised to be the great
I
year.
know.
Still, in many ways, we're still struggling, but you know what? We've survived and we will
Really
again.
did. We really did. And I think we are stronger for it. And I think we have more skills than we think. And I like that, what you're saying. And I swear I came up with the Nike term before they did. Just do it. If you
Just
don't
do it.
get the job, you don't get the job. But I'm telling you, you're going to learn something from that interview. You're going to learn something about yourself when you reach for something a little bit bigger. And that's where I put the purpose. The bigger purpose needs to be in there for you too. You don't know the possibilities of impact you can make on that company or that corporation or that business around your own life unless you do it. So
Yeah.
just
I mean,
reach
I
for a
took a
little
huge,
stronger.
huge leap of faith to move to Singapore. My husband had to quit
Oh,
his job. He was a high school football coach. There's not a lot of high school football in Singapore. There's
oh.
one American school. I don't know who they play football against, but there's one American school that has a football team. And we literally moved around the world. And I remember walking into the corporate offices the first day and having that thought in my head for a minute. Wow, these people have no idea. I am so over my head. And literally for the first month or so, I was trying to fit in because I lost my vision for a few minutes again. I
Yeah.
was trying to fit into everybody else's image. I was trying to be like all these other people. And my boss, who I loved, a man named
That's
Oliver
good.
Roll, a British guy who I adore, came to me and said, why are you doing that? Probably not right thing to say, right? But he's British, so it's okay. I said, well, what do you mean? He says, you're trying to fit in and be everybody else. I didn't hire you for that. I hired you to be you. I want that creative, spontaneous spunk, that passionate Patty that says anything that's on her mind and to anybody, to even to see Bomber and Bill Gates, right? Says anything to anybody. That has that courage and confidence. I didn't hire you to be like those people.
Yeah.
I need you.
But we needed that person to encourage us and support us and notice that and then lift us up.
Here's another point. Women, surround yourself with people that build you up and divorce or get rid of anybody else or minimize your contact with those people that just tear you down, that you could come in one day and you feel your hair looks good, you feel good, you're confident in your job, and somebody says, you really blew it yesterday. The people that are always super downers that bring everybody down, get them out of your life, minimize your contact with
Yep.
them, be polite, be professional. You don't have to love them. You don't have to go out to happy hour with them, but surround yourself with people that are going to build you up.
Absolutely.
My husband, 38 years, moving to this house was our 18th move in 38 years. Incredibly supportive, gave up his job to move to Singapore with me. Had the time of his life, by the way, because he got to play golf and shop, basically.
It's a beautiful city. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And my territory was all of Asia. So I had Australia, New Zealand, Korea, Japan, Indonesia, China. We went to Phuket so many times because it was like flying from Dallas to Austin, or from
really?
From one part. It was an hour trip. It was super cheap. It was cheaper to go there for a weekend than it was to stay in Singapore, because Singapore was so pricey. But just go for it in life, and really think about, how can I build my resiliency? How do I get stronger? It's by doing things that scare you.
Yes.
And then asking yourself, wow, I can do it again. I mean, if we didn't think about resiliency as children, we would still be crawling on the floor and not able to speak.
Absolutely. Or the first time we fell down.
First time you fell down on your bike.
Not doing that again, ever. It hurt. Ah, the heck with it. You get up and you do it again.
Get up and do it again. And then you'd have your dad or mom running behind you, holding the back of the bike. And then they let go, and you don't even know they let go. And they're encourage you, saying, keep going, you're going great. Then you realize you forgot to learn how to stop.
Yeah, that's important. Knowing where that boundary is too. And Pattie, I really enjoyed this, and I know you've got a special offer, but before we go, I really want to encourage all our women listeners. We need you. We need you in the workforce. And then this is a quote from the McKinsey Global Institute. They've estimated that the global gross domestic product could be $1 trillion lower by 2030 if women are not back in the workforce. That is the kind of global impact women are having on the world. And so we need you back. But I also want to say, I think women need to expect more. You are worth more than you think you are. You've shown. Ask for more when you go back.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, Pattie?
I really want women to be, I've got 3 V's and 3 B's. I want you to be valuable, visible, and vocal. And I want you to be brave, bold, and brilliant. And go for it. You'll learn from it. You'll grow from it. Like I said, if we didn't learn how to talk or walk or ride a bike, we'd all be sitting there doing nothing. So I do have a couple special offers. In the last podcast, we talked about personal vision. Whether you watch that podcast or not, that's not an issue. So I talked about how to write your personal vision. So if you email me to pattiegrimm@live.com, this will be in the show notes. It's PATTIEGRIMM, Mary, at live.com. So pattiegrimm@live.com. If you email me, I will send you a free PDF guide on what is a personal leadership vision, how do you write one, why do you use one, and how you can make your life better. And you can live your best personal and professional life if you use a vision to keep you focused and get you back on course when you go off course. The second special offer is on my book. Hold up my book. Ding, 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 ding. So big red high heel if you're in your car, big giant red high heel breaking the glass. Quiet Women Never Change History. Be strong, stand up, stand out. Let's go kick some glass. It's normally $18.95 on Amazon for Joanne's podcast listeners and other podcasts I'm doing. You can get the book for $10. That includes free shipping and handling in US only. Outside the US, you just pay extra for shipping. And you get $200 in free bonuses. So there's 6 training videos. There's the podcast. There's a couple of other tools in there, how to find your personal strength inventory. There's a number of things in there. So that's $200 in free bonus, free shipping and handling US, $10 for the book. And you can either email me or go to www.womenkickinglass.com/book. So www.womenkickinglass.com, all one word, /book. And it'll take you directly to the site where you can order it. So either way, email me or go to Women Kicking Glass, which is my company website.
That's beautiful. And we will have that in the show notes so you can click the links. I really want to encourage everybody to go get the book. I just really, like I said, I just found it inspiring. And for podcast guests, you aren't going to see this, but it is a bright red 4-inch heel on stepping on glass on the cover. It's a beautiful cover, and I really think you can get a lot out of it. And I just would really want to thank you, Pattie, for being here, and encourage all you women to really get out there. We need you and
Need
this
you.
economy for all of us. So I want to say thank you for my listeners, and thank you, Pattie, for being here today. We really appreciate it. And I want everybody to show the support for the show, for Pattie, and for Anxiety Simplified by going and rate this and review this and tell us what you think. How did this help you? We really would like to hear from you. And
Share
remember,
it.
yes, yes, use it and practice these skills we're talking about. That's one of the most important things you can really do. Or contact us also at anxietysimplified.net if you are looking for another way to comfort yourself with an emotional support animal or a certified psychiatric service dog to go anywhere with you to feel that calm. So bye for now.